You don't fall for fake news because you're dumb. You fall for it because your brain is trying to be fast, social, safe, and right, all at the same time. And the scary part is, misinformation doesn't need to convince you forever. Sometimes it only needs to make you pause, share, doubt, or pick a side before you've had a chance to think. So here's the question. Why can a totally false story feel obvious, urgent, and weirdly believable? Why can a blurry screenshot from a stranger hit harder than a carefully checked report? And why do smart people, educated people, careful people still get pulled in? The answer isn't one flaw. It's a whole stack of normal human instincts being used against us. Let's start with the biggest one. Your brain hates uncertainty. It wants a clean story. When something confusing happens, an election, a war, a disease outbreak, a crime, a celebrity scandal, reality is messy. Facts arrive slowly. Experts disagree about details. Good information has caveats. But fake news shows up wearing a cape. It says, here's what really happened. Here's who's hiding it. Here's the one detail they don't want you to know. That kind of story feels satisfying because it turns chaos into plot. It gives you villains, motives, and a neat explanation. And humans love neat explanations. We're pattern machines. If two things happen near each other, we look for a connection. If a person we don't trust benefits from something, we suspect they caused it. If a claim explains why we've been angry or anxious, it feels less like information and more like relief. That's where emotion comes in. Misinformation usually isn't designed to be boring. It's designed to make you feel something fast: outrage, fear, disgust, pride, betrayal, hope. Those emotions aren't random. They're rocket fuel. When you're angry, you're more likely to punish. When you're afraid, you're more likely to warn people. When you're disgusted, you're more likely to reject a group. When you're proud, you're more likely to defend your side. A fake story that makes you feel calm has to compete with everything else online. A fake story that makes you furious gets free distribution from your nervous system. Think about the posts that spread fastest. They often sound like an alarm. This is terrifying. They don't want you to see this. Share before it gets deleted. That wording does two things. It makes the information feel urgent, and it makes checking it feel like a delay you can't afford. But the internet rewards speed, not accuracy. By the time someone calmly corrects the story, the emotional version has already sprinted around the block. Next, there's identity. This might be the most uncomfortable part. We don't only believe with our brains, we believe with our groups. If a claim flatters your side, confirms what your friends already say, or makes your opponents look ridiculous, it gets a huge head start. You don't have to be secretly dishonest for this to happen. It can feel like common sense. Of course they would do that. Of course our side is being treated unfairly. Of course this proves what we've been saying. That's confirmation bias, the tendency to notice, accept, and remember information that fits what we already believe. But it's not just a thinking error. It's social glue. Believing the right things can signal that you belong. Sharing the right outrage can show your group that you're loyal, and the cost of questioning a claim can feel high. If everyone around you is sharing it, doubting it can feel like betraying the team. So instead of asking, is this true, we often ask a quieter question. What would people like me think about this? That doesn't mean every belief is fake or every group is bad. It means misinformation spreads best when it attaches to identity. Once a claim becomes part of who we are, correcting it doesn't feel like updating a fact. It feels like losing status, losing community, or admitting the other side was right. Now add repetition. This one is almost unfair. The more often you hear a claim, the more familiar it feels. And the more familiar it feels, the more true it can seem. Psychologists call this the illusory truth effect. Your brain uses fluency as a shortcut. If something is easy to process, it feels safer and more believable. That's why a false claim can start as ridiculous, then become maybe possible, then become something everyone knows. You saw it in a headline, then in a meme, then from an influencer, then from a family member, then as a question on a podcast. Nobody had to prove it. They just had to keep it in the air long enough for it to feel normal. And here's the trap. Even corrections can repeat the false claim. If you hear the myth over and over, but the correction is complicated, the myth is what sticks. Simple falsehoods often beat complicated truths because they're easier to remember. Then there's social proof. If a post has thousands of likes, shares, or comments, your brain reads that as evidence. Maybe not perfect evidence, but evidence. If this many people are reacting, maybe there's something here. Online, that signal can be fake, inflated, or totally misleading. A claim can look popular because bots pushed it, because angry people shared it, because an algorithm noticed it was getting attention, or because people shared it to mock it and accidentally helped it travel. But to a scrolling human, it just looks important. And we don't encounter information in a clean library. We encounter it in feeds built to hold attention. Algorithms don't need to understand truth. They need to predict engagement. If a post keeps people watching, clicking, fighting, or sharing, it gets a chance to spread. That doesn't mean platforms deliberately choose lies every time. It means the system is very good at amplifying content that triggers reaction. Misinformation is built for that environment. It's punchy, it's visual, it's emotionally loaded, it's usually more confident than reality. Real experts say things like, "the evidence suggests," or "we need more data." Fake experts say, "this proves everything." Confidence is persuasive. A person speaking with total certainty can feel more trustworthy than a careful person explaining uncertainty. But certainty and accuracy aren't the same thing. In fact, the people who know the most are often the ones who explain the limits. Another reason people fall for misinformation is that truth-checking takes effort. Most of us aren't sitting at a desk with a research assistant every time we open our phones. We're tired, we're eating lunch, we're waiting in line, we're half watching TV, we're scrolling while annoyed. In those moments, we use shortcuts. Does this source seem familiar? Does the headline fit what I already think? Did someone I trust share it? Does it have a screenshot? Does it sound specific? Are there numbers? Is there a graph? Those signals can be useful, but they're easy to fake. A made-up statistic feels more credible than a vague claim. A screenshot feels like proof, even though screenshots are incredibly easy to crop, edit, or remove from context. A clip can show a real person saying real words and still mislead you by cutting out the beginning, the end, or the reason it happened. Misinformation doesn't always invent a brand new world. Often it mixes truth with distortion. A real photo from the wrong year. A real quote with missing context. A real study exaggerated beyond what it found. A real crime presented as a national trend. A real mistake framed as a secret plan. That blend is powerful because when one piece checks out, the whole story feels stronger. You think, well, that part is real, so maybe the rest is too. There's also a deeper psychological comfort in some false stories. They can make the world feel more controllable. Randomness is hard to accept. It's painful to think that bad things happen because systems are complex. People make mistakes, diseases mutate, markets shift, or disasters just happen. A conspiracy-style explanation can feel less frightening than chaos because at least someone is in control. Even if the someone is evil, the story has structure. There's a hidden hand, a secret plan, a reason. That can feel more tolerable than uncertainty. So what actually helps? Not just being smarter. Intelligence can help you spot bad arguments, but it can also help you defend the beliefs you already want to keep. The better tool is friction. Tiny pauses. Small habits that interrupt the share button. Before you believe or share something, ask, who benefits if I react before I think? That's a great question because misinformation often needs your instant emotion. Then ask, have I seen this from more than one serious source or just repeated through the same network? Repetition isn't verification. 1,000 reposts can still come from one shaky claim. Look for the original source, not the screenshot of the headline, not the post about the article, not the clip of the clip, the original. If the claim is true, it should survive contact with context. Watch for emotional pressure words. Shocking, censored, exposed, destroyed, secret, proof. Everyone must share this. Those words don't automatically mean something is false, but they do mean someone is pushing your buttons. And when you correct someone, don't lead with humiliation. Nobody likes being told they got tricked. A better move is to give them a path back with dignity. Try, I saw that too, but the original source says something different. Or, this clip is missing what happened right before it. That approach lowers the social cost of changing their mind. The big takeaway is this. Misinformation works because it's built around normal human needs. We want certainty. We want belonging. We want simple stories. We want to protect people we care about. We want to feel like we see what others are missing. Those aren't stupid needs. They're human ones. But in a feed full of people and systems competing for your attention, those instincts can be steered. The goal isn't to become cynical and trust nothing. That's just another trap. The goal is to become harder to rush. Because the most important moment isn't when you're calmly thinking about media literacy. It's the 3 seconds after you see something that makes your heart jump. That's the moment fake news wants to own. That's the moment to pause. If a story is true, it can wait long enough for you to check. If it's false, that pause might be the thing that stops it with you. So the next time a post makes you instantly furious, instantly proud, or instantly certain, treat that feeling like a flashing light. Not a sign that you're wrong, a sign that your attention has been grabbed. And once you notice that, you're already harder to fool. If this helped you think a little differently about what spreads online, share it with someone who sends you questionable screenshots. Gently, very gently. And if you want more clear explanations of the invisible forces shaping what we believe, stick around.